So my single word guidance is understand the business in, you said, short term and long term, in immediate term, is visible to everybody. There are no hidden secrets. Performance appraisals are based on the performance that you actually can see. So we have this mode called best.
Hey everyone, this is Minesh and welcome back to another episode of Modernizing Biz podcast. On this episode, we have Saurav Bhattacharya with us. Saurav is president at NHA division, Ajmal and Sons India. On this episode, we discuss about building team, generating sales and building a D2C brand around it. Let's get directly deep into the conversation with Saurav. Hi Saurav, welcome to Modernizing Biz. Saurav, hope you are doing great.
Good morning. How are you, Minesh?
I'm doing good. I'm super excited to know about like the new horizons of Ajmal that you're gonna work out. But before starting, I want to know what's the one thing, right? So before starting this podcast, we are having conversation. I know that you're a lot of sales driven. You're target driven. So what how you train your mindsets from a long time you're working into this projects and bringing revenue for legacy brands itself involve a lot of ups and downs. So how you train your mindsets to be consistent enough and not affect on your mind. The bad days should not affect your mind.
You use the word target, Manish. That the word target in our head does not exist. The reason is because if you look at the perfumery segment in India, it's probably something that has not been nurtured adequately. Just to throw
Hmm.
numbers at you, when you look at US as a percentage of the overall perfumery market, the overall perfumery market, let's say, is about $50 billion, and the US alone at $11 billion is more than 20% of the total market. Comparatively, the documented market in India is just probably 3,000 crores, which is less than half a billion. And given the population and the pop strata opportunity that is available, you wonder, less than half a billion out of 50 billion, we're not even 1%. So I think the word target is a misnomer in our perfumery segment for a very simple thing, that we are trying to build a culture of consumption. So awareness is critical, and therefore the first point that I would want to make is we are at Ajmal the only brand, probably the only homegrown brand, which is dedicated to the perfumery segment for an end-to-end solution, right from conceptualization of the
Hmm.
product, the ingredient, to the design, to the entire manufacturing process and the end delivery, including the consumer relationship management. Now, when you are actually committed your cause for the development of the category, and we envisage that this can become a sunshine category moving forward, target therefore becomes a misnomer because you are filling open spaces, and the open spaces are significantly large. And why I say so is, historically everybody has been, when you talk to people, irrespective of age band, the number of people who have bought a fragrance more than 1,000 rupees and above is
Hmm.
probably less than 10%. Fragrances are gifted, fragrances are bought in duty free, visiting relatives gift you fragrances, but the real purchase for my own on fragrance points, which is more than 1,000 rupees and above, is abysmally low. So I think the way we have looked at it is we've looked at the channel opportunities that are there to reach out to more consumers. Historically, we being a brand with a very strong legacy, the story has to be told about who we are, where do we come from. So
Hmm.
therefore, creating the efficacy not just with the mature consumers who are 35 years and above, but also with the millennials and TG, millennials and the Gen Z, as a core TG is very important. Uh, Historically, also the disposition of Ajmal has been more towards males. But what we have dramatically changed over the last couple of years is the inclusivity as far as the women folk are concerned. So today,
Hmm.
let's say on an Instagram perspective, we potentially have almost 50% of women and 50% of men. So we've shifted the needle in line with the way the opportunity lies in the market. From a channel standpoint, I think it's very important to register the fact that there is room for every channel, be it brick or be it click. Today, almost 35% of our sale comes from the online space. And we were nobody probably 4 years back. The reason today it is so very important is because nobody has actually made the genuine foray in the online space. uh, what do we do by which is different from most others? We sample a significant bit. So even if you bought a
Hmm.
deo, we would sample some amount of fragrances with you. As a consumer, we would give you opportunities to upgrade. We would give you knowledge about how to wear the fragrance. So it's about building that consumer connect. Okay. So e-commerce for us has seen where in the B2B2C sides, the big marketplaces, and we know the names of who they are. Today, I wouldn't hesitate to say that Ajmal, as a perfumery mono brand, is probably
Hmm.
the largest seller across all e-commerce platforms. So much so that with one of the large partners, we've even got an NFT module running. We are probably the only
Amazing.
perfumery brand which is doing it as part of the Diwali campaign. Much as online is important, one of the things that is very important to consider, Manish, is the fact that brick is here to stay. And brick
Agree.
has multiple aspects to it. One aspect to it is your own store. We have consciously not tried to expand radically in our own store for a very simple reason that we believe that we need to be cost efficient as well. So
Hmm.
we are able to ride on the bandwagon through large format stores, through multi-brand outlets, through the most important, which no other perfumery brand does, which is the distribution network. We've created a distribution network so much so that whether it's the pharma brands, whether it is the pharma multi-brand outlets, chain retail, and so on, the beauty chain beauty stores. We have been able to expand our network to almost 5,000 points of sale. So, in the recent times, and I will talk about it later in detail, we've also rapidly expanded in the space of franchise stores. So, we've just initiated, and hopefully, before the end of the year, we would have about 10 franchise stores. We plan to expand to almost about 100 in the next 3 to 4
Wow.
years. So, long story short, Brick and Click are both to stay. Click has a very important part from an education perspective. Brick service at the point of sale is very critical. Consistency is very critical. And the multitude of channels, be it our own Coco stores, be it the large format stores, the value formats,
Hmm.
be it even the multi-brand outlets, which are apparel outlets, and also last but not the least, where Ajmal stands to be differentiated from the rest of the competitive clan, is our prowess in distribution.
So I want to know a little bit that you touched the point that it's a legacy brand. You're taking a company culture ahead into now started into e-commerce. So you're doing all unconventional things, right? So a lot of times we have seen brands struggling with one thing. Let's take an example. They want to start driving sales, want to generate sales. So the company culture, which is what matters the most, the human resource. So what is strategy? How you make sure that each and every person is motivating and they are driving towards the targets, and you touch the point that targets not exist, but we're chasing the numbers, but at the same time work is not becoming toxic. So what is how you manage that?
Many companies, when they actually talk about their vision and mission, they
Hmm.
put down numbers there. Our vision, and the reason I kind of stepped aside from the word target, when I articulate the vision, we want to be the most distributed perfumery brand in India, both at an acceptance level as well as availability level. And to
Hmm.
drive this vision, you see there is no numerical to it. Of course, at a business level, there is a numerical that we want to achieve $50 million in by 2026, 27. We want to get $200 million in a particular time frame. But that apart, that are the building blocks of the vision and the mission are more important. So if I talked about vision being the most acceptable perfumery brand, the mission, and I'm so glad, Minesh, you talked about the culture. There are two parts to it. Many companies will actually put the product before the people. We
Hmm.
are an exception in that level because we put people ahead of the product. We believe that a product can be presented by any company, but if you have the right people to be able to present the product, then it's a very different avatar. So the culture here is that there is no employee. Everybody
Okay.
everybody here is an entrepreneur, and there is a sense of ownership. So, one single point that everybody understands, irrespective of the function that you come from, is there are two things you've got to be doing here, else you're not worth your salt. Either you're driving top line revenue in terms of coverage and therefore getting in more sales,
Hmm.
or you're reducing and optimizing cost to cut down on overheads. So our entire culture is P&L centric. And in
Hmm.
this process, our motto very clearly is do what you do what's fun for you, because then what you do is always going to be exciting. So having fun at work with the numbers that are profitable, with a complete understanding, be it whether it's the warehouse boy or a head of the department, it's important to understand ये करने से खर्चा ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. So,
Agree.
people downstream will also tell you this line, sir, पहले धंधा फिर खर्चा. So
Amazing.
the culture part is very important from a mission perspective, where we put people very clearly into the entrepreneurial mode. They set their own KRAs well before the beginning of the year. We have a very elaborate performance management system. So for me, down to the last person, everybody has their KRA that can be seen by one another. Their scoring of points every month is visible to everybody. There are no hidden secrets. Performance appraisals are based on the performance that you actually can see. So we have this mode called BEST. So our
Yeah.
performance management system is called BEST, which means breaching excellence. Achieving excellence is not good. You need to breach excellence. So breaching excellence through sustainable tracking. You talked about the word target, and I said no target. We are saying that we have to excel in what we do. We need to breach that. We have to move forward. But
Hmm.
anything that we do is not going to work unless it is monitored, and therefore breaching excellence through sustainable tracking. And this PMS mode of performance management system mode gives complete transparency and clarity across every single member in the team, irrespective of the function, for a very simple reason that it is transparent, it's loyal to the purpose, and ultimately everybody also sees that if Minesh is dropping or Saurav is dropping, but if both of them combine together, the eventual result happens. That's success. So the
Yeah.
overall objective is set, but very clearly driven as harmoniously as a team, because we believe that together everyone achieves more. So the first part that I focused on the mission was about people. The second part is about the brand and relationship. There is something that we use often as a context, which is the brand loyalty pyramid. The base
Hmm.
of it is what is about driving availability. So the sales guys, the business development guys are constantly going to work on creating availability. Once the product is available, layer one, layer two is about how do you make the product relevant. The
Hmm.
reason that the product has to be relevant is you are telling the consumer, listen, this is why you require it. Perfumery today is not just a lifestyle product, but it's a moment based need across the day. We live in a tropical climate by and large across India.
Agree.
We travel by public transport. So before you step out, you need to feel good. When you're transiting, obviously there is muck and dirt and sweat and all of that. So when you reach your workplace or your destination, you need to spruce up. You work through the day. The larger point that we are trying to say here is perfumery, or the whole aspect of smelling good is not just for you, is not just for others, it's for you. It is
Yeah.
you, your own wellness, your own well-being, that is far more important than what others feel. So, at the layer, if we say availability, then the whole story through social media interaction about creating relevance. Then the third thing is creating the stimulus to buy. Okay, you create a very valid reason to buy. How do we do this? Today, if we are to approach the millennials, the Gen Zs, we need to be able to make perfumery. I mean, and I'm just not talking about deodorants. We need to make perfumery available at less than $1,000. at
Yeah.
price points in smaller formats of 20 ml. So today, if I go out across to the office, my average age band in this office is 29 years old. If I step outside and ask, listen, guys, do you require a 100 ml perfume? They'd say, give us 5 20 mls. We need
Yeah, I
variety,
agree.
we need short bursts, and we need to be able to change and move on as we move forward. So the third thing is therefore creating the stimulus, the story to buy. The fourth is actually the sales, where you're converting the consumer into a purchase. But apart from these four, Manish, the one thing that is most important is the crest of that pyramid, which is referral or bonding. When I give you an
Hmm.
experience, Manish, which is tremendous, the whole interaction, whether it's a business associate or a brand associate or a beauty associate, whichever is your point of coordination and contact, the explanation, the service has to be so good along with the product. So we talk about service design. You
Hmm.
have store design, but we're talking about service design to a
Service
level
design.
that when Minesh as a consumer goes away, Minesh not only has an excellent interaction and an entire process of service that's been dealt out with, meted out to him, then he uses the product, which in turn is fantastic. And once he feels that A plus B is equal to a very large C, and that C echoes that element of satisfaction that, yeah, I mean, the Ajmal experience is fantastic. I want to talk to my friends about it. And we've seen this on social media through our various
Agree.
campaigns. We just got off a Navram campaign for Navratri. The generic message flowing around is, hey, listen, you guys are fantastic. I'm going to, tag you to X number of friends. I'm going to share this in
Yeah.
my own groups. So, just to summarize what I spoke about, there is a vision on driving the acceptability, the fact that we want to be the most acceptable perfume brand in terms of availability and relevance. From a mission perspective, we want to build a culture which is people centric, where people build their own entrepreneurial skills to be able to drive revenue objectives
Hmm.
of Brand Ajmal. The second part of it is create a service design and an experience that is completely unparalleled. So that's the answer to your question on how the culture is a differential, Manish.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to know one thing that I really fantasized about, that you touched the point of word of mouth. So the crust of the whole conversation is that you touched the point that your main focus is coming down and bringing the customer satisfaction, which leads to a large amount of word of mouth, right? So don't you find this thing that there's like a lot of good campaigns going to happen, but there's the 1% of campaign which might create a bad word of mouth, right? A lot of entrepreneurs do make mistakes, and mistakes is the part of the process, like it's going to happen, this or that, and which drastically reduce the morale of the team. And even if you talk about, if I give a number, let's take an example, there's 65 days, 365 days in a year. Out of it, 200 days are the bad days, I would say, right? I'm also being a startup founder, I can understand that.
Right.
So what's your take, how you manage those days with the team when the team is not feeling the motivation? There's something bad happened, there's like 100 things are going good, but there's three things that happen bad, which is like completely ruining the mind. So how you tackle with that situation, and what's your take on that?
Again, I'm very glad you asked me this because this is something which is very intrinsic to us at NHA. At New Horizons of Ajmal,
Hmm.
I must first start by telling you this that so I report to this gentleman called Mr. Abdullah Ajmal, who oversees the entire operation. He's an NRI. He is the business consultant and the perfumist and the eldest member of the third generation of the Ajmal family. So, he and his father have taught us something which is very important. And I'll give you a very small example. They flood you with so much of love and affection. Okay, typically a promoter employee relationship is very chiseled, is very marked. Be it sharing food on the same table, eating out of each other's plate. From there to inundating you with and pampering each employee with so much
Hmm.
of love and affection. I mean, even for example, when Abdullah's father, who's the CEO of the organization, would come in here, he would actually ask us about what are the challenges you're facing. Okay, do you need medical insurance? Do you need education?
Hmm.
Does any one of your family need education allowances? I'm there. Don't worry. Money will not
Wow.
be a constraint. you focus on what we need to do. In one of those meetings, and I remember the date being 6th of February 2022, Abdullah's younger brother, Asad, who heads supply chain, was here on one of his early visits. And when his turn to speak came, he actually had said, Abba, nobody works here in NHA. And there was a pregnant pause all over. See, father also looked up. We are all looking. What is he saying? He says, nobody works at NHA. So then he paused and he said, everybody comes home. At home,
Amazing.
at,
Yeah.
at home, you don't technically work. So if you're there, your parents are there, your siblings are there, your spouse is there, you do stuff being at home. You don't classify that as work. So he says people at NHA don't work, they come home. The reason I'm answering this question from that perspective is first important to understand that this is home. So there is a home where we live, and there is a home that we all get together to have fun, which is also our workplace.
Amazing.
So now, having set the context of home, if I bring you to the point that if there is a fracas at home between a child and the father, between a child and the mother, what happens? First, they will scold. The child might feel bad. Then, the dad and mom, either separately or together, or a sibling, or another person or the grandparent will come together and pamper the kid, saying, "Galtiyan
Yeah.
hoti hain, move on." So, not 200, but 365 days of our year is like that. We have
Amazing.
we have our issues, we have our squabbles, but trust me, if somebody has scolded somebody, there is another person who is there as the mentor, who's there as the friend, who's there as the family to come around and immediately push that person up. And trust me, Minesh, today we are in physical space and it's lots easier to do it. We've had
Agree.
meltdowns. We've had meltdowns even through COVID. And it's very difficult because conversations are on phone, conversations are on digital. You can't even, put your arm around and say, hey, easy. Or spend some time over a
Hmm.
coffee and chill out with that person and calm that person. We managed that culture even through the peak of COVID. So for us now, it's not the 200 out of 365 that can be bad days. Every day is new and enterprising because we are at home and we are amongst family members and people who will take care.
I think this one thing that need to be learned by a lot of founders and entrepreneurs. And even if the team started working out on this manner, I think the toxic work culture will start boiling down. But one thing I want to know is that it requires the holistic approach, right? Like even if one person is doing it, no impact is gonna create. So it's going to happen at an organization level, right? So it's mind blowing thing. I think so. I'm going to feel the essence when I walked into your office. But if one case you find out that, let's take an example, you're launching a new product, right? So NHA, you're working out a lot of new products, right?
Right.
So what are the challenges, as a brand you are facing in NHA, and you feel so that if that is solved, it's going to be the best thing that's gonna happen. What are the challenges currently NHA you are facing while building it?
So, in a common household, which has, we are not a nuclear family at NHA, we are a large family staying together.
Yeah.
So, if you go back and think about those, integrated families where a lot of chachas and bhatijas and therefore a lot of women member are there who are running the kitchen, what happens when you are doing a new product development? If there is a single line approach where the boss looks at a data and says, I want this, then you're likely to be doomed. Here the
Hmm.
collaboration is very seamless. So the whole thing is sales will come back with continuous market feedback in terms of what is required from a market standpoint. Here, Minesh, I must point out to you that when we started the operation nearly 4 years back, 75 to 80% of our products that we sell in India used to be imported from Dubai.
Yeah.
Come COVID, come the issues in terms of import, come the advocacy of Atmanirbharta,
Hmm.
come the fact that we realize that there are better opportunities we can also create from an Indian manufacturing standpoint. So today, the table has tilted. 70% of what we sell is manufactured in India. And we're proud to say that we are probably the only company who's able to do it as an end to end solution. Because when I talked about a 20 ml or even a 10 ml from a millennial or a Gen Z perspective, I'm able to give them a fragrance at 300 bucks, 400 bucks, 500 bucks, which many others will not be able to do. So
Agree.
the challenge in new development, new product development, is when the new product development kitchen is actually laced with information from the market, understanding from marketing, understanding from the sourcing, the problem is likely to be lesser pronounced than it would be if they were ad hoc decisions. Once there is a development direction, that is where Abdullah and I would probably rationalize and say, okay, look at these opportunities. Mind you, we have a full fledged design studio internally. Through
Hmm.
COVID, Manish, we have delivered 50 SKUs through COVID, including a co-brand comprising of 28 SKUs, 14 in Global Desi, 14 in with the house of Anita Dongre. And all of these 50
Yeah.
designs have been done internally. So yes, there are niggles that we face from a manufacturing standpoint, where probably the color or the efficacy or the delivery is not up to the desired standard. We are so conscious that we wouldn't let such product go to the market. So we are, as I said before, that
Hmm.
what happens if the mom cooks something which is not up to the mark? Sometimes she may not serve it to the family members. So we don't serve food if it is not cooked to the mom's satisfaction. And the mom's satisfaction here
Agree.
is the new product development team satisfaction.
Amazing. Really put it in a nice manner. I want to know. I want to touch the point. If you want to give advice to a budding D2C entrepreneur, right, who trying to start selling a D2C product or something like that. So, what would it be? Like, what's your take on giving them an advice? Like, how they can drive sales? What should they focus? They should focus on short term sales or long term sales. So what's your take, and what advice you're going to do to a young budding entrepreneurs?
So, irrespective of the nature of the business, whether it is D2C or Omni or whatever it is, my single point mantra to any young business entrepreneur would be that not just you, but you and every member of your team need to understand the PNL. You need to be
Hmm.
able to understand that what drives profitability, and hear this word carefully, profitability to the consumer and the company both, which means I must be
Agree.
able to give the consumer a product which is an excellent price value equation, a great delivery for that particular price, but at the same time fitting that individual's pocket and in a space either through online or physical within an arm's length of desire. And most importantly, I need to be able to ensure that the company is profitable in the process of doing so. So, when we get in management trainees as part of the accelerated management program, the first 7 days, I spend personally time with them. They branch away to different mentors, but I spend first 7 days with them, teaching them PNL. And because I believe that if they do not understand PNL, they will never be able to perform their
Hmm.
tasks. You will find a lot of designers, you will find a lot of people who will tell you, sir, ye kharcha karna hai. But they don't understand the implication that that cost can hurt the bottom line. You talked
Yeah.
about two words, which is short term and long term. I think those terms are a thing of the past right now. Short term is equally as important as long term. You know, earlier we used to talk about building the brand for the first 5 years and then we will leverage
Yeah.
profits. No, nobody waits. Today's life is too fast paced. You've got to deliver profit today in your first year, buddy. It doesn't work otherwise. So we are very clear that what you do, it's like a weight loss program. Yeah. If we have seen a lot of people losing a lot of weight, and what happens? Then they suddenly gain back more than what they have lost.
Yeah.
So the word there, key word there is sustainability. What you do, okay, as part of your culture, as part of your process, as part of your DNA, has to be sustainable. If you are going to work in a particular way, in a particular channel, you have to understand that the channel margin is likely to go up, the discounting is likely to go up, and you should be able to sustain it with the evolving marketing trends. Your marketing expenditure is going to go up, Therefore, your product delivery should be such that you are able to command a better price vis-a-vis competition. So, my single word guidance is understand the business in, you said, short term and long term, in immediate term. First,
Hmm.
understand the business mechanisms from a P&L perspective in terms of sustainability. What you do needs to be sustainable, else, you don't stand a chance.
Okay, so what do you say? Like, so sales numbers, can you delegate it to all the departments? Like, I think so. There are few departments which cannot be delegated in that manner. So, what's your take on सारे department में delegate हो जाता है या there are like few departments that left behind? This is my personal question. I wanna imply it on my business as well. That's why.
So, I talked about the performance management system best, breaching excellence through sustainable
Hmm.
tracking.
Hmm.
So whether they are sales guys or whether they are HODs who are from support functions, everyone carries numerical targets. There is no soft. A CFO here will not have that. I need to do internal audit. A CFO will not carry a target saying I need to ensure that the MIS is published on so and so date. Those are crap. So the
Hmm.
CFO here carries a target that the overhead reduction has to come down against the budget from X to Y within this
Okay.
time frame with quarterly milestones. The human resource actually has to ensure that the recruitment that happens of XYZ talent is in this time frame of this candidature of this profile. Retentivity has to be this. Following policies have to be implemented so that there is salary accentuation by XY. Everything is numerical. As I
Amazing.
said,
Yeah.
the word that I said through sustainable tracking, if you cannot track, what you cannot track, you cannot measure. What you cannot measure cannot be evaluated as a person, as a percentage or as a performance. So the answer to your question is very clear that every individual, irrespective of support function, is given milestones which are clear numericals. They can crib about it, they can say whatever they want to, but at the end of the day, the result is showing up on the scorecard for everyone to see. And they're very
Hmm.
happy doing it. It's been a huge transition. We made this transition 3 years ago, and today, if you ask them to do something different, they'll say, "No, sir, मेरा numerical ये से ये है." So, at the
Hmm.
end of the day, everybody hates being monitored, but once they understand that the process is very transparent and the process is fun. So, if you get a legal person, if you get a HR person, if you get a new product development, for example, their entire numerical is not about delivering products, but delivering product at a particular cost. So, if they have
Hmm.
delivered a product at 100 rupees, they are on a target how to deliver it next of a better quality with standards being XYZ at a cost which is 10% lower.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, got it. Towards going to the end of the podcast, I want to know one thing like what's year 2023 with your new NHA plans going to look like? Like, what's on the same date in year 2023? What do you find that Ajmal is going to be around it?
So I think fundamentally we by 2023 same time we would have expanded our coverage from 5,000 to, if not more, 25,000 outlets.
Hmm.
I'm not showing
Amazing.
off that this would happen through just the perfumery. We're looking at launching something very big in an adjacent category. So that would drive our coverage up. From a business standpoint, we are on the cusp on getting into a few very large association with some powerhouses. I
Hmm.
must confess to you that people talk to us. People are very keen to be associated with brand Ajmal. We were not known in the physical space, but today people come back and say, "How can we work with you?" So I'm
Yeah.
hoping by this time next year, in addition to these retail associations that we have, we could probably even look at some more co-brand association. We could look at driving e-commerce in a very big way. All the work that we have done on e-commerce so far, by and large, has been through B2B2C, but we are in the process of strengthening our B2C module, and hopefully that would be a huge force to reckon with. In fact, if I may share, it's just not for the Indian market, but we're looking at setting up B2C in a very big way for four markets, which is essentially uh, which is essentially uh, India, GCC, UK, and the US. So next year, same time, there will be a lot of hoopla about new things that we have done, new milestones that we have achieved. Every time we achieve a small milestone in our office, we actually ring a bell, and the pantry boy comes running with jalebis. So we call that a jalebi moment. And everybody comes together, picks the jalebi from the basket, and we share the sweet together, which is a token about हम सब ने मिलके ये सक्सेस पॉइंट पाया है. There might be an individual who's done it, but we cringe to have sweets always in life, and we look at doing that through earned business metrics, and that's the jalebi moment that we look forward to. So to answer your question in one line, we're looking for many more jalebi moments, if not even better rabri moments moving forward,
Yeah.
even on business milestones that we have.
Amazing. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all the insights that you have thrown directly to our head. And it was lovely talking to you. Hope a lot of audience will get tons of value out of it. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Saurav, for your time.